Jets, I hear them say it now.
Jets, white, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win tonight. White, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win.
What is going on, YouTube? We are back for the first time in months here on the Turn Up the Jets YouTube channel. As always, your host, Joe Scurto. Like the video if you actually liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Appreciate everybody to stick around and stay subscribed while I was kind of on my, hiatus, if you will. You could also follow me on Turn Up the Jets, or at Turn Up the Jets, rather, on both X and Instagram as well. I missed everybody. My small fan base in which I, really value so much, of just coming on here blabbering about my miserable life of being a New York Jets fan. It was, life kind of got in the way. Same thing happened similar the year before, but I bounced back. I always come back. And today's the day. I announced it last week on my Instagram for you, those who don't follow me there, that I was ready to come back, really just create content weekly and able to be consistent once again. I feel like it wasn't consistent after week 11, so I just completely stopped. I had to just kind of handle some things, and I'm ready to go, and I've never been so ready, and it's a perfect time. NFL free agency starting fresh at the 2024 season. Of course, the New York Jets end in disappointment. Another 7-10 year, back-to-back years. The same regime comes back with Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas. We all know this stuff. I'm just trying to catch up in about a minute. In terms of the last 4 months, of which I missed out. I think it was November, the last video that I put up. But NFL free agency is here. The tampering period started on Monday. I'm definitely going to break down all things NFL free agency, my reactions, reactions and predictions, rather, as it is Wednesday right now as I'm making this video. And we're actually an hour and a half away from the official free agency to start. The tamper period again started Monday. It starts here at 4 p.m. Eastern time officially, and a lot of things will be moving around. Before we get into the Jets, this is breaking news here right now. Mike Williams released from the Chargers. They free up $20 million. I'm only saying that because that could be a possibility for the Jets, who were very interested in him a couple of years ago when he was available as a restricted free agent. But the Chargers, of course, threw him a big contract, re-signed him. Injuries got in the way. He's a star talent, but injuries, again, have got in the way of him performing on a regular day basis. And the Chargers had a lot of things to handle. They were $25 million below the salary cap. They free up $20 million there. They still have Keenan Allen, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack on huge contracts that they probably have to figure it out within the next hour and a half. But Mike Williams, the first domino to fall. He's now a free agent. So obviously they couldn't find a trade partner for him. It will be interesting if the Jets look into that. I'm open for the right price. And I think Joe Douglas is always open for the right price. I'm not really worried of the Jets overspending or, overspending, on a guy like Williams, especially with an injury history like he has. So I think he'll probably go for a nice bargain, a low risk, high reward type of deal. And if that is the case, I would be open for that. But I'll talk much more about the free agency period. I want to talk about the moves that have already happened. Of course, they will be official very soon, but they happened mostly on Monday night. The Jets were quiet. It opened up at 12 p.m. Eastern time, the tampering period. And people were throwing fits on Twitter. It's so funny. Everyone's just overreacting that the Jets are done and, they're the losers of the offseason already and whatnot. And people hate Joe Douglas. But he was able to make a couple moves on Monday. Hasn't really done a lot since in terms of the tampering. They have signed 3 free agents and they have acquired a player via trade. Let's get into the first player that they did sign. That was on Monday night, late Monday night. It was John Simpson, the former offensive guard for the Baltimore Ravens. He played all 19 games last year, so 17 regular season and the 2 postseason games in the divisional and the AFC Championship game for the Ravens. He's a left guard. He's a true left guard. You can kind of compare him to maybe cheaper version of Laken Tomlinson. We say Laken Tomlinson because he's super durable. Like I said, he played in 19 games last year. Only allowed 1.5 sacks. Very, very good, but had 11 penalties. I think he had the second most penalties out of any offensive lineman. Fact check me if I'm wrong, but he did have a lot of penalties. That's the one thing that you kind of worry about, but he's extremely efficient in the run game. Like really, really good. He's a bruiser. He's 6'5". He's a big dude. He's mean. You see a lot of clips already coming out of him pancaking guys and just destroying guys. He isn't consistent. That's the one thing. He goes for 2 years, $12 million. So this is a nice contract for the Jets in terms of price. When you gave Laken Tomlinson over $40 million, and that was a disaster. So I like the move here. This is a guy who, again, is durable. You need durability. And that was the only reason why I was kind of scratching my head why you get rid of Laken Tomlinson. I know he has not lived up to that contract one bit. And if you've seen past videos here in the YouTube channel, I have bitched about it plenty of times. But the only thing I want to keep him around, because he was literally the only healthy lineman last year and has been the last 2 years. You get a guy like that in John Simpson. So I do like this sign. I would give this like a B-, just really based off need. They have a left guard, a guy who has started at left guard. You could say what you want as inconsistency play. You could follow the pro football focus bullshit. But at the end of the day, this is a professional. This is an NFL left guard. That's all they need. They just need NFL starters, and he is an NFL starter. He has proved it. And he is, once again, super, super good in the run game. The pass game could be better. I think that's where most of his penalties come from. But 1.5 sacks, you still can't really complain about that. So this was a much needed, acquisition for the New York Jets. I do like it, and it kind of gives new blood. It's not the sexiest signing. Joe Douglas signings really never are super sexy, especially in the beginning part of the tampering and NFL free agency period. But this was a late night signing, and he kind of stayed up and signed multiple guys in like an hour span. So not too far after that, they go and get their backup quarterback and former Bills, Chargers, Giants, you name it, quarterback Tyrod Taylor. Again, I really like this move. 2 years up to $18 million. People like to get that mixed up, thinking, how are you giving him $9 million a year? That it's not $18 million. I think a lot of it has to do with incentives and how many games he actually plays. Let's hope he doesn't play in many. But this is a veteran. This is an NFL backup. He's 58-1 as a quarterback in his starts. So that's the definition of a backup quarterback. They don't need anyone sexy. What they get is they get a competent backup, a leader who players love. And yes, he is injury prone, but if he's healthy, he could play. And hopefully he's going to be healthy, because hopefully he doesn't have to play. At least you have some insurance. So, again, I give this a B-. I like this move. I was happy about it. I know you could have went the Jameis Winston route. I love Jameis Winston, but he doesn't seem like that Robert Saleh type guy. Let's be honest. I think Taylor is more of a guy that, relates to the Robert Saleh motto in the locker room. You already have Rodgers. He's, say what you want, a big personality. I don't necessarily think you need a guy like Jameis Winston in there. Is there really a big difference? Winston has battled his injuries. He's a turnover machine. He's very inconsistent. He is a good backup, but I don't think they really missed on anything huge. He did go at a pretty good discount, but I'd prefer Tyrod Taylor. I would just more so the locker room aspect. Players look up to him. Players love him. And he's a pro's pro. You have an adult now as a backup quarterback who people are going to instantly respect, because he's that dude. He's a vet. And he can play. The Giants started playing well once he came into things. Once Daniel Jones got hurt, he played well. And of course he got injured against the Jets, of course, out of all teams. But yeah, he had that, really good game against Commanders. I knew they finally got a win. all that good stuff. So he can play. He just needs to stay healthy. But, my thing is your backup quarterback is going to stay healthy as long as your starter stays healthy. And let's pray that Aaron Rodgers is healthy for the entire year. So yeah, 2 years, 18 million. And I think that 2-year number is great because that's what the hope is, to get Aaron Rodgers for the next 2 years, and you lock down the backup as well. Do I think they're going to get another quarterback? Yes. I could see a late round quarterback, in the draft, get a rookie. He could be your future. He could not be. I definitely think they should carry 3 quarterbacks though. You get Rodgers and Tyrod in the active roster. Let that rookie sit. Let him sit behind 2 really well-respected veterans, arguably one of the greatest of all time in Rodgers, and then Tyrod Taylor, a pro's pro. So I think it would be a really good situation for a rookie. I don't think they got to sign anybody else. A lot of the quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks, fell pretty quickly early on that day. And Monday, Gardner Minshew went to the Raiders for pretty solid money, 2 years, $25 million. I think Jacoby Brissett was getting $8 million in a season with the New England Patriots. That was a reunion. So the backups were kind of falling off, and Brissett and Minshew were really the 2 names that everybody was looking at going into the year. I kind of, figured that they would go off the board pretty early. They would get solid money, and I definitely think Tyrod Taylor was the next best thing. Minshew, I see him as a starter. The Raiders probably go and draft a quarterback, possibly, but I don't think they're getting $25 million not to start. I mean, he's at least going to compete for the starting job. Same with Brissett. Like, those guys are competing for starting jobs. The Jets they didn't have to throw that money because these guys aren't competing. Like, let's hope to God they're not competing for a starting job. So, this was a really wise decision, in my opinion, on Joe Douglas's part. So Jets go get Tyrod Taylor, and then the third time's a charm. And all these guys were just jam-packed on Monday night. And I thought they were going to keep coming, but they haven't signed a free agent since. But the former 49ers defensive tackle, Javon Kinlaw, if you didn't remember, Kinlaw was a first-round pick a couple years back. I believe it was the 2020 draft out of South Carolina. A very highly touted prospect, just hasn't really made it all work. And I've seen, 49ers fans actually mad that they did not re-sign him because he did have 3.5 sacks last year. It seemed like he was trying, starting to figure things out. There's no doubt in my mind that this dude is very talented. But I hate this contract. I do. I know it's only, I think it's $6.2 million. He can earn up to $7 million. That number looks small, but if you look at it, the grand scheme of things, guys like Al Woods, guys like Solomon Thomas and Quentin Jefferson, those guys probably added up to that cap hit, like all 3 together. Kinlaw, yep, he has upside, tremendous upside. He's still only 24 years old. But for a guy who was never really put together a good year, maybe the Jets think they could fix him, and the Jets have proved that they can fix players. Solomon Thomas comes in. He was a highly touted prospect, didn't really pan out as what the 49ers anticipated. Goes to solid, does well. Look what they did with Bryce Huff. Jefferson had a bounce back year went from Seattle to the Jets last season. I mean, they're just rotating. The Jets always have a really stout defensive line behind Albrecht and behind Saleh. So maybe they're thinking that Kinlaw, the sky's the limit. He has tons of potential. Like, this dude is like really talented. Again, just couldn't really put it together. I just think it's a risky investment because is he going to come in and be that guy that the 49ers drafted a couple years ago to South Carolina? Because this dude is a beast. He's a physical freak. He's big. He's fast. He's strong. But we haven't seen it in the NFL. I think this is a good spot for him personally because he doesn't – no one's eyes are on him anymore. He's more the guy in the background. He's a rotational piece. I would expect the Jets to maybe make another move on the defensive line. But yeah, he is a rotational piece. Let me see. Let me just make sure that contract is right. The Jets also signed what's his name from the Cardinals, Leki Fotu. I'm probably butchering his name. Sorry that I even left him out. He was also on a short 1-year deal, former Arizona Cardinal. He's only 25 years old, so that was another depth piece to go with. Javon Kinlaw, he's 6'5", 334 pounds. Looking into Fotu right now, I completely forgot the Jets even signed him. They signed him yesterday. So they have 4 free agents, don't mind my mistake there. So Fotu also with Kinlaw, but let's go back to Kinlaw for one more second. So yeah, I don't love the contract. I think it is a definitely an overpay for a guy who hasn't proved it. They're paying him on upside. If there's a guy to do it, it's Albrecht and Saleh. That staff has gotten everything out of their players. You can even not even just the defensive line. You can go and look at Quincy Williams. I mean, this dude was drafted in the 3rd round of the Jaguars in 2019. He gets released by the Jaguars, who were a bad Jaguars team, comes over to the Jets in 2021, was like, meh. Then 2022 was like, okay. They paid him. 2023 is an all-pro. So they've had a tremendous track record of getting the best out of these guys who have potential, but just haven't really exceeded expectations in the NFL level. This is the prime example of this move. This is a Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas, type of move here with Kinlaw. So I like the player. I like the potential. I don't love the contract. I'm going to give the signing a D+. I mean, I'm not obsessed with this move. It's a good depth piece. I think that's all it's going to be. And hey, I hope that I can go back to this video when Kinlaw has like 8 sacks this year and just laugh in my face, say, holy shit, this was the best signing of the offseason. It has the potential to be that. You just can't convince me to have that expectation right now. Not right now, not in March. Maybe if things heat up, maybe, the training camp smoke screens come out and people say he looks really good, but I'm just going to temper my expectations with Javon Kinlaw. And Fotu, it's the same thing. Arizona, he was a rotational piece there. He's young. He has potential. He's a big body. He's just going to be a guy to come in when, those D tackles ultimately need a breather. So those are the 4 signings. And this trade just actually happened a couple hours ago. And I'm glad I didn't record after this trade. And, again, there's a really good chance that more moves and maybe even more trades happen for the Jets end. And if that happens, I will definitely make an emergency video. But Morgan Moses, the reunion, is back for the New York Jets. They have agreed to terms with the Ravens. So they now have the Ravens left guard and right tackle coming to the Jets. Morgan Moses leaves the Jets in 2022. They did not decide to re-sign him. The Ravens swooped him up. 2022 and 2023 was the starter. Again, durability. That is the definition of Morgan Moses. Reliability is availability, or was it reliability is availability or some shit like that? I'm probably totally butchering that saying, but he is reliable and he's available. And this is a really good move for Joe Douglas. So, there hasn't been too many trades. You could say what you want, that Joe Douglas is an inconsistent drafter. He kind of gets praised a little too much just because he had that, by the way, an unbelievable class in 2022. There's no sugarcoating around that. But, 2023 was suspect. 2021 was suspect. 2020 was terrible. I mean, other than that, he's 1 for 3. So you can say what you want. Maybe he's not the best drafter. And free agency, he's usually, just sleeping the whole time. And he's nocturnal and just signs random guys at nighttime and just doesn't really do all the moves that everybody wants him to do. But sometimes people are unrealistic with the free agency because then you can go the Mike Maccagnan route, spend all this money, and you still stink. But with the Jets, with Joe Douglas, his time with the Jets, he knows how to trade. He does. They go get a reliable veteran in Morgan Moses. They shouldn't even let him walk in the first place. This is a true right tackle starter in the NFL. He's 33 years old. They get him in the Ravens' 4th round pick. I believe it's the 134 pick of the 2024 draft in exchange for their 112, which is also a 4th rounder, and their 6th rounder. So a 4 and a 6. Basically, they swap their 4s for they swap their fours, and then the Jets get Morgan Moses, and the Ravens get a 6th round pick. So that's a great move. That's a terrific move. That's a B+ type move, in my opinion. So now they have starter. Their starting offensive line is coming together. You got Timmon in the center. I think this move now proves that Elijah Vera Tucker, who had been rumored to possibly go into right tackle, is going to stay at his right guard position. John Simpson's going to be the left guard, of course. Morgan Moses is going to be the right tackle. Now the left tackle, which is obviously the most important position, is the only one we're waiting for now. So what are the Jets going to do? They have options. Heck, they can draft one at 10. Fuaga's out of Oklahoma State is probably out of Oregon State is probably going to be I would say the highest possibility, just because I don't know if the others are going to be there. Fashanu and I don't know if they're going to be there. I actually don't think there's any chance that they're either of them are there. Maybe Fashanu, but Alt's going to get drafted. He's not going to go past the Titans. The Titans' offensive line is terrible. They need a guy like him. He's a generational tackle. But they could get Fuaga and draft him, but do they automatically throw him at left tackle? He was a right and a left tackle. He wasn't a true left tackle. So do you can draft him with 10 and maybe sign a veteran like David Bakhtiari, of course, Aaron Rodgers' boy, and maybe see if he can turn things around here. Maybe he can stay healthy. That's a chance that happens. Or they can sign a veteran like Tyron Smith, who is going to go for some money. Again, he's 33 years old as well, but he is, despite his injuries, a very good player. He was a long time all-pro caliber tackle for the Dallas Cowboys, in which they had a really good offensive line for all those years. So that could happen as well. And then that means that, oh man, we got a fan here. This is this is Paulie. Paulie is he's a Jets fan. Look at him. We got to get him out of here though. Interrupting the show. If I was talking distractively, that's why, because he's been hovering around me the last minute. You probably saw him in the background too. But yeah, they can go the Collins route and then draft one of those stud receivers at 10, because I don't think all 4 will be gone. I think Odunze or Neighbors will at least be there. I don't think there's going to be 3 in the top 9. We know Marvin Harrison's going to go, and then Odunze and Malik Neighbors, one of those guys will go, I think, before 9 or before 10 rather. But in the top 9 before the Jets, I don't see all 3 of them going. So you could draft one of those guys. There are also receiving options in free agency. I know a lot of people want Tyler Boyd. I think Boyd would be a great addition. That's a true number wide receiver too. A guy who had over 1,000 yards, a guy who was productive even with Higgins and Jamar Chase over him. I think that could be a good option. But the Jets have so many options here now. And it all starts with the left tackle. That's the most important. And then you base your left tackle position or your situation off of what you can do with receiver. Because like you can get Fuaga and Bakhtiari and then sign Tyler Boyd. I like that. Or you can sign Collins, and then you can and then you can draft one of whoever drops, whether it's a Dunze or one of those guys. So let's see. Tyron Smith, or I think I might have said the wrong name before, but it's Tyron Smith. My head is, all mixed up right here. But yeah, you can go Tyron Smith and draft one of those rookies. So the Jets have options. It will be interested to see what they do, and I know they're probably going to make a move. Definitely won't. I mean, I hope they make a move. After this video, but I'm going to take one last look to see if they've made any other moves, there's nothing. Khalil Mack will remain in Los Angeles. That just happened 15 minutes ago. So he's staying. Williams is gone. Raiders also released Hunter Renfrow. So Williams, Renfrow, Boyd, Ridley's still out there. Doesn't look like the Jets have any interest in there, though. Hollywood Brown's an interesting one. He's probably going to target $9-10 million a year. I haven't heard any ties with the Jets. Of course, OBJ's out there. There's definitely options at wide receiver. So wide receiver and left tackle. A wide receiver, 2, and a left tackle is what the Jets absolutely need. And then after that, it doesn't really matter. They just need some depth moves. In terms of current players coming back, Greg Zuerlein, before Monday's tampering period started, they signed him for a 2-year deal. I love it. Zuerlein was 92% for field goals last year. Unbelievable. He could hit 60s, 50s, anywhere around the field. Hopefully Thomas Morstead follows. Jordan Whitehead is also having a reunion rather with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where the Jets got him from a couple years ago. He is going back to Tampa after being with the Jets for the last 2 years. So the Jets are going to be in need for a safety, which brings me to my next point. They did bring back Chuck Clark, who they signed a 1-year deal last year. Who they traded from the Ravens last year. And then he got hurt in OTAs, tore his ACL out for the year. They signed him in a 1-year deal, bring him back. I like the move, but I hope that he is not starting. I think a guy coming off an ACL injury and Tony Adams right off the bat, who's only a second-year starter in the NFL, that's really putting a lot of pressure on them, especially that safety has kind of been the weakness over the last couple of years. So there's a ton of different safeties out there. So I think once the Jets get that receiver left tackle position out of the way, I'd like to focus on another safety, and then everything else can just be depth pieces after that. And, Thomas Moore's at home. Hopefully the Jets can go grab him too. But that's going to close it up. I've been spewing the last 5 minutes. I just wanted to go over the free agency signings, the Morgan Moses trade, just some other updates. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be the vice president of the United States, or for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So don't worry about that. I mean, yes, that would be the most Jets thing ever, but I do not believe it. I think that's smoke screen bullshit. And I'll legit rip my hair out if that's actually true. But people on Twitter are actually thinking it's oh, we're done. It's happening. No, it's not. He's not going to be the vice president. There's no way. But that's going to close it out. Appreciate everybody for watching. I commend you for sticking around if you did. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I know we're close to 300 subscribers. Like the video if you actually liked it. Follow me on X and Instagram at TurnUpTheJets. All one word. And like I said, I am back. I will be making some consistent content once again. It's a fun time for the NFL. Everybody wins or everybody loses in the NFL offseason. We love to overreact when there's literally 7 more months to go before the year starts, or 6 months realistically. But I will be keeping you updated for free agency and everything else. Draft coming up as well. So appreciate it. Joe Scudder, your host always. See ya.
Jets, I hear them say it now.
Jets, white, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win tonight.